Let's simplify this algebraic expression. Notice that I'm multiplying 4x times a trinomial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4x. It's not just multiplying one of these, it's multiplying all of them. It's called the distribution property. Multiplication distributes over addition and subtraction. So this is going to this is what distributing means. It means give it to each one of them. So let's rewrite it. It's going to be 4x times 2x cubed. You could write this as plus a negative to be safe. So let me do that. Plus 4x times, I'm going to put this in parentheses so it's easier to see. Otherwise you'd think that I'm subtracting it. I'm not subtracting it. I'm multiplying this times this. Just like I said with the distribution. That gets multiplied by that. Plus 4x times x. I could have done that for all of these. Sometimes it's better to just use parentheses to represent multiplication. Alright, now let's think about why we did that. I like to always think back to real numbers. If I had 2 times 4 plus 1, what's the 2 being multiplied by? It's being multiplied by 4 and and by 1. So if I distribute it, 2 times 4 plus 2 times 1, I'm going to get 8 plus 2, which is 10. The other way I could have done this is I could have first added the 4 and the 1 together and gotten 5, which means I would have 2 times 5, which equals 10. Notice they're both the same answer. Doesn't matter which way you do it, it gets you the same answer. The mistake is if you don't distribute this to both of them, then you wouldn't get the same answer, and you'd be wrong. Alright, so let's continue with this. So now, how do I do this problem right here? This problem, we have to actually take this apart and almost think about what the rules are for multiplying things together. And the rule, I'm not distributing this 4x anymore into here because this isn't I'm not adding and subtracting 2 and x cubed. These are all factors. And so I can rearrange this however I want. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rearrange this as 4 times 2 times x cubed. And how many x's in total do I have that are multiplying together? I have 4. So what would I have done with these two exponents? I add them together. So that's x to the 4th. And what do I do with the 4 and the 2? I multiply them. And so my first term is just x to the 4th. I'm going to write that lower so you can see it better. 8x to the 4th, I should say. 8x to the 4th. Let's do the same thing with this right here. I'm going to rearrange them. I'm going to multiply the 4 by the negative 7. I'm going to bring the numbers out front, and then I'm going to take the x, which is really x to the 1st, and the x squared, and what did this in total, what x to the 1st times x squared is the same as x times x times x, which is how many x's? X cubed. And what's 4 times negative 7? Negative 28. Now you could either write negative 28 like that and put a plus sign there, or you could also write just minus 28, because those are the same. Plus a negative 28 is the same as minus 28. And then the last term is just going to be 4 times x, and how many x's do I have that are being multiplied there? I have 2, so I could rewrite that as 4x squared. And that is my simplified form of that original problem. Now, let's take it just one step further. You're going to learn very soon what factoring is. And factoring is just a fancy word for dividing something out. So if you're given this problem right here, change colors. If you're given this problem and they ask you to factor it, what they're asking you to do is put it back into a form like this. In fact, this isn't even really factored all the way, because what factors do these 3 terms still have in common? They still have an x. All 3 of those still have an x in common. So factoring is like the reverse of distributing or multiplying. That's what factoring is. I won't get into the specifics, but just remember that this is the reverse process of factoring.